Hey guys, welcome to the second episode of Solving Mysteries. We're going to dive deep into the very first episode of Ducktales 2017. So hold on, here we go.
In the first episode of the new Ducktales show, entitled Whoo-oo, we find out what has been going on with the characters from the Ducktales universe. Donald seems to be raising Huey, Dewey, and Louie on his own and needs to have a babysitter as he's looking for a new job. Scrooge McDuck is the world's richest duck and is related to Donald Duck. At this time, Huey, Dewey, and Louie have never met him before, and we see his mansion for the very first time. And this is where we start seeing some Easter eggs from the DuckTales universe. As Scrooge leaves Huey, Dewey, and Louie into his mansion, we see a few paintings that look a little familiar to us. The first painting we see depicts the classic Carl Barks painting titled Always Another Rainbow, which was painted in 1974. The painting is a classic portrait of Scrooge, the doer, a visionary, but not a dreamer, alone, but unafraid. The second portrait in the room is another Carl Barks painting. This painting is one of many portraits that Carl Barks had painted over the years and also inspired the outfit in the 2017 DuckTales. And finally, there's a small portrait of Castle McDuck, which is located in Dismal Downs. The first appearance of this castle was in June of 1948 in The Old Castle Secret. The castle is filled with memorabilia of the McDuck heroic deeds and is also surrounded by a graveyard where most McDucks were buried. The castle is also the usual home of all the ghosts of the deceased McDucks. Later in the season, on episode 21, The Secrets of Castle McDuck, we see the 2017 version of Castle McDuck, and we see some of the ghosts that represent some of the Duck family tree. We then see a portrait of Quackmore Duck on the mantelpiece. Quackmore was Donald and Della's father, and he was married to Uncle Scrooge's sister, Hortense McDuck. We later see him on Webby's board, located in her room when she meets Huey, Dewey, and Louie. This version of Quackmore Duck resembles Mark Warden's version of him on the Duck family tree. We then find a portrait in the dining room showing Scrooge's parents, Fergus and Downy McDuck. His parents are currently living in Castle McDuck in Dismal Downs, and we will see them later in the season in the episode The Secrets of Castle McDuck. Later in the episode, as we see Scrooge's study, we see a few other paintings on the wall. The first one we see is one of Carl Barks' painting entitled Nobody's Spending Full. This is based upon the story Back to the Klondike, where Scrooge McDuck is walking past all the swindlers, the grifters, and the money grabbers, and he's determined to spend none of it while saving every cent. The next portrait we find in his study is a portrait by Carl Barks entitled Scrooge McDuck, the richest duck in the world. We see a few other photos in this picture. First, on the top left, we see a picture of a mountain which we believe to be Mount Everest. Mount Everest shows up in episode 9 in the Impossible Summit of Mount Everest. In this episode, we find out that Scrooge had made an attempt to go up Mount Everest and failed in the past. This might be signifying his trip as a Neverest Mini. On the right-hand side, we also see a side portrait view of Scrooge McDuck. This is very similar to the side portrait views in Disneyland created on Main Street. This might be just a quick reference to the Disneyland park itself. Later on the wall, we see another photo of young Scrooge McDuck, back when he was shining shoes earning his very first #1 dime. To wrap up the paintings in the background, we have a painting from the beginning of the episode in Scrooge's office. This painting is a representation of Carl Barks' pick and shovel laborer. This 1974 painting, 2 decades after Uncle Scrooge rose to fame in the Walt Disney comic books. Furthermore, if you listen closely in this scene, you'll hear the mention of 2 Disney Afternoon cities. First, you'll hear the mention of Spoonerville, which is part of Goof Troop, where Goofy and Max live in the show. Second, you'll hear the mention of St. Canard, which is one of our favorite mentions because it mentions where Darkwing Duck is the masked crusader fighting for crime against the evil fowl.
With business expanding in the Spoonerville and St. Canard markets, noted in appendices C, G, and 5F.
But this isn't the only reference to a Disney Afternoon city in the first episode. We also hear about Cape Suzette. Huey, Dewey, and Louie were trying to commandeer Donald's ship and ship all the way to Cape Suzette. For those who are not Disney Afternoon veterans, Cape Suzette was the city in Tailspin, where Baloo would often fight Don Carnage and Shere Khan in disguise.
All right, boys, we'll get to Cape Suzette and back before anyone realizes we're gone. So long, Darkberg. Hello.
One of the other notable lines in this episode is when Scrooge McDuck says he is tougher than toughies and smarter than the smarties and sharper than the sharpies. This is a classic line from Carl Barks' story, Only a Poor Old Man, where Scrooge is telling Huey, Dewey, and Louie about how he made his fortune.
I'm Scrooge McDuck. I made my name being tougher than the toughies and smarter than the smarties.
Towards the end of the first half of the episode, Huey, Dewey, Louie, and Webby are discovering items in Scrooge's garage. Some of the items in the garage are direct references to the original DuckTales TV show. I would like to first point out the genie's lamp. This lamp is from the 1990 DuckTales movie Treasure of the Lost Lamp. It is later referenced in Season 2, Episode 8, Treasure of the Found Lamp. We next see Bubba the Cave Duck and his faithful sidekick, Tootsie. Bubba the Cave Duck was aired in the original DuckTales series in 1988 in the 5-part episode Time is Money. He then has an on and off cameo for the rest of the series. Even though this is a reference to the original Bubba Duck actually makes an appearance in the 2017 DuckTales. In Season 2, Episode 21, Time Foon, Bubba Duck is brought in from the past when Louie uses Gyro's time tub to steal lost treasures from the past. Next we see a reference to Armstrong. In the original series, Armstrong is introduced as Gyro's latest invention. He is a robot that was designed to do everybody's job and is very helpful for a while, but then decides to turn evil. He steals Scrooge's money and holds him and Gyro hostage. He was later defeated when water from Lunchpad's plane was dumped on him, causing him to short circuit and to fall to pieces. The final reference is to the original DuckTales episode, The Treasure of the Golden Sun. In this episode, Scrooge comes across the Valley of the Golden Suns. The valley was known to hold a vast amount of treasure, which was considered only a legend. The Valley of the Golden Sun was hidden inside a mountain located in the jungles of Waka Waka. Everything from the giant discs to the overgrown temple was made out of pure gold. As you could see, some of the designs of the Golden Temple were referenced directly from this episode.
The Gong of Pishu. Hit it 3 times to unleash unspeakable evil.
The Gong of Pishu may be referencing to a French magazine named Pishu. This magazine features characters from Scrooge McDuck's universe and is the French name for Scrooge McDuck. While this reference hasn't been officially confirmed, it could be a fun homage to this publication. Now I couldn't end the video without discussing the elephant in the room. Well, not really an elephant, but a character that looks very similar to Roxanne from the original Goofy movie shows up in an interview next to Donald. Now this character has been confirmed by the creators that it is not Roxanne. We like to dub her as Not Roxanne. Even though she is very similar to this character, we hope that we will officially get a Roxanne now that they have announced Goofy from Goof Troop to arrive in the 3rd season of DuckTales. Now you might be asking why I haven't gone over Webby's board. Well, we're going to devote an entire episode for Webby's board, so stay tuned for the next episode where we're going to dive deep and look at all the hidden clues as to what's coming up in the series. Well, that wraps up this episode. Stay tuned to any upcoming episodes of Solving Mysteries, and remember, stay glob and golden.
There you have it. Reclusive adventure capitalist Scrooge McDuck is back with family in tow, solving mysteries and rewriting history.